Hi, guys, and welcome to our weekly podcast, Blockchain Today, where we dive in and dissect the new and happening news in the industry. This week's episode will cover Microsoft's new partnership in the blockchain industry, and we will also talk about what are the new technologies to bet on in the blockchain industry for the upcoming years. So, without further delay, let's start off with Microsoft and Truffle. Microsoft announced last week that it is integrating tools built by the blockchain startup Truffle into its Azure cloud computing service to help developers build and manage enterprise blockchain applications. Now, Truffle's tools have been available on the Microsoft Azure since May the 2nd of this year, and according to Microsoft, they have been used by thousands of people on the platform so far. Truffle, one of the earliest projects at the Brooklyn based Ethereum incubator Consensus, started out making tools for developers to help them build applications on the Ethereum virtual network at a time when blockchain developer work required an extremely specialized set of skills. Truffle officially spun off from Consensus this year and in May received a $3 million injection of capital from the organization to support enterprise expansion. Truffle is also integrated with Quorum, the open source enterprise blockchain used by JP Morgan for its newly launched JPM coin, and Axcore, a blockchain built by Axony that is currently being used by the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. Truffle tools have been downloaded more than 2.7 million times, and the new integration with Microsoft means that Azure customers, which include major companies like Adobe, HP, and the International Hotels Group, as well as legions of smaller projects, will be able to build on public or private Ethereum blockchains with support from Microsoft. One of Azure and Truffle's newly integrated services, an extension to Microsoft's Virtual Studio Code, helps developers create smart contracts and test them locally before deploying them. Another new service is designed to help teams monitor the performance of blockchain apps in real time. Of course, Azure is not the only web services platform to embrace blockchain in the recent months. Amazon Web Services offers its own blockchain services and has partnered with Kalidio, another consensus project, on a marketplace for blockchain tools for businesses. Oracle also has its own enterprise blockchain platform, and Salesforce introduced its iteration of a blockchain developer tool last month. This is big news for the blockchain industry as adoption starts with the creators. Making it easy for developers to build and manage blockchain applications will inevitably have a ripple effect on the companies and other developers alike. As we see more and more solutions ingrained with the benefits of blockchain, users will get more accustomed to the technology and will be more perceptible to future tech in this space. Now let's move on to the trends of the blockchain industry and which areas you should be focused on for the next 2 to 3 years. Let's go ahead and dive in, and we'll start off with non-fungible tokens, or NFTs. An NFT is a token on the Ethereum blockchain that contains a unique metadata that differentiates it from other tokens. While currency is fungible and can be easily transferred, NFTs can be used to store much more complex and individual specific information. So NFT is basically a protocol, like you can create your own tokens using the ERC21 tokens. So there is the NFT that uses the ERC721 tokens, and you can go ahead and create your own NFT. Government documents such as marriage certificates, land registrars, food grade ratings, and driver licenses can all be tokenized using NFTs. In retail, consumers can use blockchain to verify the legitimacy of luxury goods. Digital goods and tickets can be easily stored on NFTs on the blockchain as well. So what you're going to see in this area is an emergence of an entirely new space where non-fungible tokens are going to completely change the economy. The second area of focus is security tokens, and this is big. Security tokens are cryptographic programmable securities that serve as an asset that can also take action. Security tokens can pay dividends, pay interest, or even invest in other tokens or assets, among other functions. Smart contracts, for instance, will allow assets to automatically pay dividends on a specific date if the criteria are met. Security tokens have a huge potential to decrease liquidity issues, but will require additional infrastructure to take hold, such as their own exchanges, security token offerings, and wallets. But the benefit of having a security token is vast because you get rid of all of the uncertainty and the liquidity issues that arise with normal cryptocurrencies. And security token takes that away because every single digital asset will be backed by a physical asset in the real world. And we'll talk about this more in our next point, which is tokenized asset. Over the next 5 years, security tokens will start to represent a new form of liquidity in assets that traditionally have lacked equity, such as real estate or art. Malta and Switzerland lead the way in developing infrastructure for tokenized assets. The US SEC and EU's ESMA have begun issuing comments about plans to put regulations in place which uses security tokens as their basis or foundation for all of their business operations. And we're seeing a lot of movement all over the space over here. In fact, there are a lot of companies just in real estate that are doing this. In US, there's Harbor, there's Fluidity, which has now recently been merged. So as you can see that there is a lot of potential opportunity in this space, and when people start getting more and more perceptible to it, then you'll see a lot more adoption. And we have covered this particular segment before in our podcast where we spoke about how you can get an NYC apartment in the most prime location of New York City for just 5,000 US dollars. Now that's not usually possible for normal people, but with tokenization, where you take a property or an asset and you break it down into smaller pieces, and you can sell individual piece or pieces to a particular person or an entity, that makes it a lot more liquid, because you don't no longer need the entire capital to go ahead and start investing, but you can invest small amounts but still get paid the dividends and still make money when you go ahead and decide to sell the tokenized asset at the value of what the current physical asset is valued at. Let's move on to the next one, and we talk about a self-sovereign identity. As cyber attacks continue to proliferate, new forms of identity verification will leap onto the scene to protect users. Self-sovereign identity will allow users to maintain a single digital identity across multiple platforms while selecting the information they wish to share on each other. This mode of interaction would drastically transform the current digital market space that has turned personal data into a commodity. Identity is going to be returned through blockchain back to the individual, so that the individual will own their data and then be able to marshal it out based on what is best for them, as opposed to how Facebook or Google or other people may want to exploit it. In 2014, identity assurance processes cost the United Kingdom a staggering 3.3 billion pounds. So you can see that this actually takes a lot of money to put into place. Self-sovereign identity would significantly reduce these costs as well. In e-commerce, online logins will be exponentially more secure and efficient for financial services. KYC and anti-money laundering, or AML, will be transferable from one bank to another, decimating costs. In healthcare, self-sovereign identities will put medical records back into the hands of individual patients, and transparency of permissioned access will become the new standard. And of course, when you do have all of this data that you can choose to give out or you can choose to share, it also gives you the freedom of free speech, which is our next point. Blockchain allows you to have an immutable record, something that no government can tear down no matter what. Because a distributed ledger all over the world is going to undermine the undermine the organization and the governments that want to clamp down on free speech, and coupled with ubiquitous bandwidth, create a world where everybody is going to be able to have a voice. The trend away from hierarchical societies towards network structures has become increasingly prevalent over the last few decades. Blockchain will only accelerate this transition across the globe, unleashing profound social impacts. Enabling trust within vast networks of decentralized control, blockchain is about to unlock a phenomenon that few human societies have ever achieved before. So we end this podcast on a high note with the spotlight firmly on blockchain trends to follow. We hope this episode has created new and exciting ideas in your minds. And if you enjoyed the video, then please like, subscribe, and comment down on what you'd like to see next. And we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.